So when we were doing the development, you can hear Sammy. That's our bull. You can hear the chickens because we had all kinds of animals at the ranch. And so we had a good time in that trailer.
Well, every time
testing.
The yellow car went
that's my favorite. Yeah, that's right.
Our bull Sammy would run down the fence and chase the car and just make tons of noises.
He didn't like the hissing sound of the air car. Yeah, he didn't. But you know what? He kind of quieted down when we were no longer using the, well, no.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It quieted down a little bit, and he wasn't as disturbed anymore. But yeah, it was very exciting times, and that's about ready to happen again because the 14-inch engine is back. And also the 6-inch, so we'll be running those in the dyno. Alright, I shouldn't talk bad against that because I like electric cars too. But until you have some kind of a breakthrough event for the battery, where the battery is not dirty, where the battery lasts for a long time, and it charges like at least an hour, you know. I mean, you could fill up a gas station, you go stop at the gas station. What's the normal time? Whatever, 5 minutes, between 2 to 5 minutes. If it's an air car, you plug in, you turn the valve on, you're done in less than 10 seconds. So that's even faster for air cars. When you have to recharge your battery, my goodness, you can do a fast charge of 4 hours, but your battery life is not going to last very long. Recommended charge time really is 8 hours. So like I said, what happens if you fall asleep and you forgot to charge in? You wake up in the morning, you don't have a car to drive. But not only that, Americans love their automobiles. No ifs, no buts about it. When they step on it, they want smoking tires. Well, it's true. The electric motor has a lot of torque, and when you step on the pedal of a modern electric car, you might be able to do a burnout. But let me caution you, if you do a burnout, you're not leaving the track because you just drained your batteries. I mean, there was a story in Top Gear where they had a Cobra that used to have a 427 V8 engine. They made it electric, and it was doing burnouts and was doing donuts. It was pretty impressive. And then when it came time to go home, it couldn't go home. All the charge was exhausted. Whereas all the competition, Ferrari and good cars that it kind of like competed with, went home. That's my point. Why is nobody pointing that out? Okay, Americans love their cars. Americans love to have power, although they don't use it every day, but once in a while, that when they press on that pedal, they want it, and then they still want to be able to drive home afterwards. And I like electric cars, but it's just not there yet. Hybrids I'm okay with, but you know, really what the world needs is, of course I'm going to say mighty engine because I'm the inventor, but it's reality. Because when I put the mighty engine in an automobile, you lose so much pounds out of the car. That is a big benefit right away. And I've said that already in all my articles, but now I'm proving it. With basically the world, actually 3 or 4 years ago, the jetpack market has arrived. Everybody knows that. All you have to do is Google jetpacks. There's versions out in the water where you're tied up to a 30-foot long hose. It's almost like you're taking off on a fire hose, you know, but you're flying, you know. Actually, I kind of like it because then you can go over there and have some water sports fun and feel the sensation of how it is to be flying. There's about 3 companies now. You guys can Google this. JetLev is one of them, I think, one of the first ones. So it's a jetpack that basically, you're at the end of the hose, you know. You're about 30 feet long hose where the boat is floating in the water, where it has the engine, the pump, sucking the water. You're limited, of course, because you're hooked up to that, but you have the sensation of flying. So I think that's a good thing. So the market on the jetpack has arrived. It's strange. The only thing really missing is the real jetpack. Now, the only thing that can claim more than 30 seconds or 33 seconds of flight, and those are the rocket bells. Those are the real jetpacks. The only that complain that they can do more flight range is the company called Martin Aircraft. But guys, I mean, that's 5-foot cube. I mean, you need a parking space for it. You can't carry it. You know, 700 pounds. Kudos to them because they're flying for more than 30 minutes, so that's fine. But the real jetpack, I call it the flight pack, Angel Flight Pack, is coming your way. Read up on the article on PSN that Sterling's gonna write up. Sterling was wearing it. He knows how simple it is, and this is a hot rod. It's not just gonna fly. And you can fly for as long as you want because you can carry additional pounds. You can carry another passenger with you if you have to. This is a hot rod of a jetpack. Remember what Carroll Shelby did to the British car and turned that into a Cobra, put a big V8 engine on that? This is the same thing. My jetpack is powered by the 6-inch engine, MYT6, starting at 200 horsepower and all the way up to 800 horsepower for the military use. This is a hot rod of a jetpack. You can do work with it, you can do contests, race on the weekends, have fun with it. This is the new way of really free as a bird flying. And in its reality, we're building it with Angel Flight Inc., our first spin-off company. So follow through these stories. We are living in very exciting times, and the Aviation 2.0 projects is going to change the world. And I know you guys heard this plenty of times, but when I talk about it, I can back it up. And then, of course, watch out for the VTOL aircraft. No more runways. You can take off in front of your door or in front of your garage. Take off vertical, go any place on Earth, land any place flat on Earth. And then if that's not exciting enough, ultimately the flying it's the flying cargo ship, basically the payload of a ship with the speed of an airplane flying across on ground effect over the oceans of the world. That is exciting, exciting, exciting. Right now, the only country in the world doing that is Russia. It's called Ekranoplan. You can Google it. Ekranoplan.
Ekranoplan.
Ekranoplan, and it's by Russia, and they look like flying boats. And their study on it from Australia University, Adelaide, a paper on it in 50 years and what they have to overcome, what they still have to do, and solve all the solution with my aircraft design. So very exciting times. Follow it through, and like I said, let's hope the Middle East money comes in sooner, so we get our capital. But in the meantime, I would be very happy if my capital money comes from the United States. But right now, as long as it's a friendly country, I'm okay with it because we need to get going.
One thing I'd like to add here is yesterday when we were talking, he showed me his the propeller, or I guess the fan. I'm not sure the proper terminology for the rotating part that gives you the lift, because it has unusual properties. This is Raphial's design. He's been working on this longer than the Mighty Engine. 26 years he's been working on different propeller designs, improving, and one of the things that is unique about his design is that it has a way of bringing the air into the middle and still getting torque, and so you have a bigger footprint for the same size of diameter of the fan or the blade, and you don't miss spots, so to speak. And it's really a clever design. He was yesterday just going back and forth with it, making it turn just by moving it in the air, something you wouldn't be able to do with just a regular three blade prop that you usually see on a wind farm. And so he definitely has some great innovation there. And so it's not just the Mighty Engine that makes this thing work, it's also the propeller design that he's got, that it requires high torque to spin it at the speed you need to be able to get the lift that you need for a jetpack. So he's got the torque, low to high RPM with the Mighty Engine, and he's got the propeller, and he's got the jetpack concept, so that you don't have the downdraft is not going straight down. It's deflected so that you're
the safety. Yeah,
if you're going down into the water to save somebody who's in the water, you're not blowing straight on them. It's going away from them. The downwash. Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to mention the blades.
Well, the jetpacks is very simple because, as you know, I started that as a hobby. There's a story in 2009 on PSN that Sterling wrote up on. And at the time, I went through a lot of different models as well. The current design that you wore yesterday was basically, I figured I want everybody to be able to use this jetpack, including mom and dad, and if possible, if grandpa and grandma is in good shape, if possible, them. So it's very, very simple. You guys know I have a simple mind. All my projects are very simple. And so this flight pack is very, very stable. I use gravity to help me be stable. In the event that you pass out, as Sterling was mentioning, and I have other examples for that, as in the event you passed out, basically you could be flying, just basically dangling up there until somebody saves you, you know. It's very easy to handle. You're a part of it. It's just an instrument. The human being input effort to maneuver it has a lot of things to do with it.
Do you want to talk about the flight suit that would go with it?
Well, the flight suit is proprietary, but I can tell you that the flight suit itself has the harness on it. And so basically this way, everything is all about safety. I don't want anybody putting a harness on and forgetting how to strap correctly and get untied while you're flying. That's not good. So what I've done is I've incorporated the harness into the flight suit so you can never forget. You put on your flight suit, you're safe. The other thing is as well, if in the event that you're crashing, let's say you ran out of fuel or the engine stops, you're not gonna plummet down to earth like other jetpacks. We have what we call SAP, the acronym SAP, S-A-P. That stands for Stationary Activated Parachute. That basically, it opens up. You don't need to be descending or falling from earth for the parachute to open. It opens up at a standstill. I'll just give you an example. The analogy is the umbrella opening. When you open up an umbrella, it opens all the time. So it has to do with that. But it's called SAP, S-A-P, Stationary Activated Parachute. That can be used for aircraft as well. So remember when I designed this thing, this was a hobby. I wasn't gonna hurt myself. So the first thing I did was all the safety. So it's incorporated in this design. Very, very safe, very practical, and not just gonna do fly, but it can do entered into races, it can do work, it can lift additional weight. We're gonna have fun with it, and it's very personal, and it's very simple. And measurements are 24 inches wide, 18 inches deep, 22 inches tall. That's it. When you're wearing it, you can walk through any door in the house. You can fly down in front of a restaurant, walk in, take it up, put it right next to you while you're having dinner, do the same thing afterwards. You can go to crevices where only man can climb or whatever. Instead of climbing, you can fly down there. And of course,
explore the Antarctic unknown ice crevices.
There'll be a lot of places on Earth that you'll be able to go to that you're unable to do. So a helicopter contributes a lot, but the helicopter is big. Anything that flies on a vertical mode is huge.
Imagine touring the Grand Canyon in a jetpack.
Well, you know, the police will have fun with it. And the skies, there's no limit. There's no roads in the skies. You have different levels. You have 360-degree location. You get up, you point with the direction you want. You travel in a straight line. No
it's
left
really
turns.
easy to maneuver.
Yeah.
Really easy to turn. Easy to accelerate, decelerate. Very intuitive, very natural. It bends with your body kind of thing because it's so light.
Well, and it's got a big engine. The MIT-6 engine. So it's like a hot rod. Our flight pack is a hot rod. Simply put. In terms of the Air Shuttle 8, I suppose people would call that our version of a flying van, because capacity is 8 passengers.
It's more like an executive jet replacement.
It is. It fits in your 2-car garage.
Goes Mach 2.
It can go Mach 1.4.
Okay.
That's the beginning. Ultimately, we'll go Mach 2, but let's start something simple. Mach 1.4. That's 1,078 miles per hour.
And it's not going to shake apart because of its design?
My aircraft is unlike any aircraft that anybody has seen. It's a total remake. It's a simplification. It is not a tube and wing design.
Yep.
As a matter of fact, it doesn't have wings.
But it still incorporates wing principles.
Partial.
Yeah.
And another. That's propriety at this point.
And it looks really cool.
It has, other than normal characteristics of flight, it has brand new, well, not really brand new, but it has a different characteristic in flight. Unlike the tube and wing design that relies on lift alone, my aircraft does practices other than standard practices of flight. It's a brand new design. It's simple. It's has a lot of capacity. Has a lot of volume inside. It's very, very lightweight. Oh, and I forgot, we have a new material. Some of you might be familiar with materials used, sandwich composites in helicopters specifically, very lightweight.
Do you need to be careful on what you say here?
No, I can tell them without really describing. Normally you have a core, and that's normally high density foam. It can be balsa wood, it can be corrugated aluminum or honeycomb aluminum. It could be another composite that's flexible. Core normally is just so that you can laminate both sides of it, and depending on how many laminations of carbon fiber or Kevlar, that's what gives you the strength. Now, as you guys know, carbon fiber is very expensive. What I've done is I've come up with a very simple solution for the core that's very, very strong. So therefore,
He showed it to me, demonstrated it to me. It's very strong and very simple.
It's actually very funny.
You could 3D print it easily.
So it does not require as many laminations of carbon fiber. Therefore, it's lighter, it's stronger, and it's more affordable. And that's on my aircraft. So one of these days we'll be able to explain to you, and you guys are gonna laugh how simple it is, because there's an ingredient there that is so, well, we can't utter the word. It's that simple. So anyway, I just came up with it, and I figure I'll tweak the sandwich technology a little bit, and that's what I was able to do, because carbon fiber is very expensive. So one less layer or two less layer would be cheaper, and at the same time it's lighter and stronger. But the funny thing about my aircraft is my aircraft can be built out of aluminum because I have so much power. I mean, elephants and brick houses will fly. I can do that. So, but coming up with a lighter material, well, that's also a plus. So why not? To me, it's more affordable because you're using less carbon fiber layers, lamination, so therefore cheaper. So to me, it's worthwhile. And with the skin of proper resin on the carbon fiber, you can go Mach speeds without worrying, you know. Although aluminum can go all the way up to Mach 2 before you have to be concerned about the temperature, high temperatures on the skin due to friction. That's how fast the aircraft is going. And at the same time, it was, I've always thought that when I built an aircraft, I'm not really interested in doing what everybody's doing. As a matter of fact, as much as I love aircraft and flying, I have not taken any flying lessons. I don't want to. I want to learn how to fly my own aircraft, and at the same time, when I do flying, I don't want to do subsonic flights. I want to do supersonic flights. And since it requires 10 times the power for vertical takeoff, I already have the engines. I already have the material. I already have the shapes. So put your foot in the metal. Why stop? It would be like telling your teenager, a son, that you give him a hot rod and say, don't drive too fast. Well, so we might as well fly supersonic. easier said than done, of course. There's a lot of technology that goes with that. So the aircraft technology, I'm drawing from a pool of technologies of 26 years. That's why I was able to put all of this stuff together in 9 or 10 months. As I said, I have a pool of technology for 26 years.
You've had a fascination with aeronautics since you were a kid.
Always have. I love airplanes. I love airplanes. I love everything about them. I know everything about them, the histories, and it's just amazing. So when I came up with this engine, I knew that the biggest benefit was to aviation, but I did not really anticipate that I'll be doing it. But I figure I've been told more than once or twice by investors that they said, well, that's a cute engine, and average Joe does not know what to do with the engine, so you have a small market, maybe hot rodders, so on and so forth. But the average person wants to see it in the car or in a motorcycle that they can buy. So in other words, a product that they can just buy and enjoy.
Which means the major manufacturer's going to want
correct. And I've been asked before, what if the car manufacturers don't buy it to use it for their cars? What if the airlines or the aviation community don't buy it to use it for their airplanes? What if, in other words, the what if thing. So I changed all of that by doing the spin-off companies, and now we'll be selling the flight pack, we'll be selling the MYT Turbofan to be retrofitted with any kind of airplanes. And then, of course, the biggest goal in Aviation 2.0 projects is the vertical takeoff and landing Air Shuttle 8.
Do you want to describe the turbofan briefly?
The turbofan is basically works on the same principle as a normal turbofan, with a giant fan that takes care of 90% of the thrust, and the core normally on a turbofan is a jet engine. In our case, the core is the MYT engine, so we're not producing we're not doing any external burning, so we have very little heat signature. DOD loves that. No heat signature. We're not using exotic materials, so it will be cheaper and lighter. We're a lot less complex and a lot quieter. You can operate airlines 24 hours over airspace of populated cities because they're quiet. So very, very simple design. Two giant technologies make the MYT turbofan possible. That's I call it propeller fan / compressor. We don't have a name for it yet because it does all those three. Combined with and that propeller requires tremendous amount of torque, and my engine just happens to have tremendous amount of torque. So packaged together on the turbofan, you have a brand new engine that's lightweight, that's quieter, that has no heat signature or less heat signature, and no roaring sound because we're not burning fuel externally. We're burning fuel internally in the MYT engine. Oh, by the way, the MYT engine will have a quiet muffler that has no restriction. This can be applied to automobile as well too. A muffler that has no restriction and it's quiet. So this is an MYT turbofan that has a muffler.
Let's talk about the muffler for a second. Is that something that you could license out to other manufacturers?
We can license that. We can license SAP, the stationary activated parachute, because that's a safety feature. I would like for people flying jetpacks to use that. Please don't kill yourself. So we're going to make that, we're going to license, we're going to patent that right away and make that available to the public. But we also have giant versions of the SAP for our vertical takeoff and landing aircraft. Let's say you're on a takeoff and something happens and you're going to fall down. While you deploy the SAP, not so much to slow down the aircraft. The aircraft itself has a flat belly, so it can slow itself down, but to make sure that the aircraft is stabilized and at the same time slow down the aircraft. So no more dying from crashes in landing and takeoff, because we eliminate the airport. As everybody knows, 80% of disasters happens in landing and takeoff in the airport. This being vertical, if it happens, we have parachutes.
And two of the most expensive components in modern aviation are the wings and the landing gear. A lot of engineering and weight.
Over-engineered, correct.
And yours requires...
I threw that away.
No landing gear required and no wings required.
They're gone. They're just not there. I threw it away. Like I threw away 80% of the components in the MYT engine, I've done the same thing with the airplane. The good old faithful tube and wing design, it's time for a change, guys. And very high technology. Next time you board a plane and you're in flight at 40,000 feet, look at the wing tips on the turbulence. They're moving, and you're thinking, that's aluminum. I didn't know it's a spring. But anyway, there's a lot of engineering in wings, folks, and I threw that away.
And tell how much of the weight of an airplane is fuel?
Between 40 and 50% of the maximum takeoff weight is fuel. So let's say you have a 500,000 pound aircraft on maximum takeoff. 250 to 300,000 pounds of that is fuel. That is just incredibly not very smart, guys.
And how much money goes into tires on the landing gear?
Tires, brakes, landing gears, the highest on maintenance next to fuel. So if you can eliminate, but again, too, also the most dangerous. Next time you watch a plane land, you will see that the moment the tires touches the ground, the tarmac, it has a puff of smoke, and that leaves a flat spot. The reason why the big airlines has so many tires is not so much to carry the airplane. It's so that when 2 or 3 of them blows up, you're still able to land, to land safely. And if anybody of you guys had experienced a crosswind on landing, when the airplane is landing sideways, it's the scariest thing to look at. And all of that's the reason why if a landing gear gets stuck or opens up but doesn't lock, there's so many things that can go wrong in hydraulics. Hydraulics are very complex, leaks all the time, and you have the heaviest and the strongest material on the aircraft is the landing gear. And so not having to land in the aircraft because you're vertical takeoff and landing like a helicopter. Look at the helicopter. Helicopters don't have wheels except
so
for the giant
you've got the versatility up and down of a helicopter and the speed of a jet.
Correct. But to me, the most important thing is the safety factor. Flying is pretty safe, but when 80% of disasters happens on takeoff and landing, time to get rid of the airports.
So airports are going to be a thing of the past because you can take off from anywhere, top of your building, out in the parking lot, out in the fields. Anything can be a landing. You can park it anywhere you want.
Pretty much. A helicopter does that, but the helicopters still have limitation. The tip of the rotor blades in the helicopter is a deadly weapon. And if you hit anything with that rotor, you're going down. So the helicopter is a wonderful aircraft, but it has such big limitations on horizontal flight. As a matter of fact, there's a contest that was started by the Department of Defense, DARPA, and other government agencies earlier on the year. They're searching for a vertical takeoff and landing aircraft similar to a helicopter, but can do on horizontal flight 250 miles per hour. And if you're flying 250 miles per hour, is like doing 25 miles per hour on the road. That's nothing. When you're flying, you want to fly fast. So my aircraft not only takes off and mimics a helicopter in a safe way, but at the same time, I fly faster than most airplanes. Executive jets, actually, they're saying that we're about 5 years before we see Mach speeds on executive jets. Well, we might as well do it, It's there. We have the power, we have the technology. The only thing we don't have is a rich uncle. So, rich uncle, wherever you are, come on board. There's a lot of investment opportunities with us, especially now that we are a spin-off company. So this pool of technology that I had acquired for 26 years, every time we spin off a company, 20% of it will be for sale. Let the investor pay the money. We do everything. All the investor does is write a check and sit and wait for his dividends. That's it. And I don't have to haggle my head off with all kinds of different deals. Here's the deal. Every time we spin off, 20% sold. We'll put up the price there. If you don't like it, next man, you know. So basically, I can spend a lifetime haggling with different deals. So spin-off company, there's a written rule. 20% sale, here's the cost. Pay for it. And then we do it. And there's 100+ inventions waiting to be spun off or developed and spun off or spin off. So very exciting times. I'm sorry that I was very, very quiet. We were thinking about waiting until we're in production, but unfortunately we're still waiting for the big money, and I don't want to wait any longer. There's a lot of enthusiasm in the Middle East, but getting the money over here is another thing. There's so many red tapes, you know. So while I'm waiting, it can happen tomorrow. Who knows? But the thing is, while I'm waiting, I don't want to wait no more. I'm ready to go. So we can sell individually the units on the Angel Flight Pack. As I said earlier, Angel Flight Pack has presentation. They're available on request. Give us a call. The PPM, Private Placement Memorandum with offering. And at the same time the financials, the complete package to invest, you know. On the Jet Power, Angel Jet Power Inc., or the MIT Turbofan spin-off company, we don't have any write-ups on that yet, but we do have a pricing. We do have some specifications sheets for the VTOL aircraft, because we do have a possible order of 10 aircraft from the Middle East. They think it's a flying Ferrari, so a couple of the very rich sheik wants to be the first to own the first 10. They call it flying Ferraris. I call it Air Shuttle 8. So I'm giving them special pricing. So if we get that order, that's a big deposit, you know. So there's a spec sheet on that as well too. Read it. Again, the information of Aviation 2.0 projects is available on request but you have to be a real investor, because we can't be sending them out, you know. So all the information is there. Most of our interest in the Middle East, they want to buy the whole package. 20% of the flight pack company is 100 million. 20% of the MIT Turbofan company is 1 billion with a B. And of course the VTOL aircraft, 20% of that company is $2 billion. And if you invested on the flight pack, you have first right to invest in the other two. And both of the deals on the table that we have right now in the Middle East wants to pay the whole $3.1 billion. They want to own Aviation 2.0, 20% of Aviation 2.0 projects.
And that's separate from the ship technology? Very,
very, very separate from the flying cargo ship, or the WIGs, or wings in ground effect that I was talking about. Just keep remembering, payload of a ship with the speed of an airplane flying in ground effect in the oceans of the world. That basically does 90% of commerce is done in the oceans of the world. Think about that, folks. We're talking about trillions of dollars here. And if that takes place, that I guarantee you is the biggest industrial revolution that man will ever experience. If you look at the oceans of the world, you look at the waters and the boats, it's been like that for a long, long time. Aviation is very advanced, and yet maritime shipping, there's nothing you can do. You have to float on the water, and you can't go very fast, period. But the moment you start flying in ground effect, that changes the rules. You know, just imagine, you know.
Instead of 2+ months to get from continent to continent, now it's 2 days. And a lot less expense.
And then you're not exposed for that 2 months with the forces of Mother Nature, for storms, or it's not dangerous to be out at it's very dangerous to be out at sea, guys. Mother Nature is very, very strong. I mean, why do you think the oceans of the world is littered with all kinds of ships?
Do you want to talk about your experience at sea?
When I was in Vietnam, I was assigned in the USS Marvin Shields. That was a destroyer escort off the flotilla on we're basically escorting the Enterprise, the aircraft carrier. We are the first defense, and our boat is anti-submarine rocket. We have anti-submarine rockets, so that's SROC. So we patrol the outside. My experience is that is a 300 plus feet boat, which is still pretty good size, but that's small for because it's an escort destroyer. When there's big waves, and especially on typhoons, and we do get caught in the middle of the ocean with typhoons, when the ship rises, you'll see the big choppy thing, and it's almost like the ship is going to be thrown out of the water. You hear a lot of vibration because the propeller partially comes out of the water, and you think the wave is going to throw you off up into the sky. Then when it goes the opposite, where it goes down, you are surrounded by walls of water. You would think that the water is going to swallow you. It's the scariest thing anybody could experience. The first time I experienced that, I prayed and prayed and prayed, and I love that ship for keeping me safe. The waters,
and you've
the
been
oceans
hit with
of the
the
world.
water.
Oh my goodness, it is. Mother Nature is so strong. You want nothing to do with it. Being on it for 2 months? Are you kidding me? When you're flying, you can avoid the typhoon. You can take another day off, or you can fly around it. You don't have to fly. You have less exposure crossing the oceans of the world at ground effect at speeds of 500 miles per hour and 2 days flight instead of 2 months. So less bad things can happen to you. Why would you want to be sitting out there for 2 months and you are open for all kinds of nasty things that can happen to the ship? You don't want to do that. And who wants to spend 30 days, 60 days out in the ocean? 2 days, not bad. 1 or 2 days, depending on the continent. So I love the oceans. I don't want to be on it. I've been on it plenty of times. I don't want to be on it. If it's a lake, that's fine. Okay. Out fishing even, I don't. I don't. I love the oceans. I'd like to fly over it in ground effect. And I'm not spending 2 months out in the ocean. There's no way. It's not practical. Just imagine what this will do to commerce. Since 90% of commerce is done through the oceans of the world, and your waiting time is 2 months, and now it's 2 days? Are you kidding me? Do the math. I mean, that is incredible. Russia had been pretty clever, and all the time that Russia, when they lost the superpower stature, they kept working on this Ekranoplan. I don't know how quite to pronounce it, but you look at it, you could Google on it.
Ekraplan.
Yeah, this is just my look at things. If you guys remember the Spruce Goose,
do a Google image search. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, if you
go to Google Images and type in Ekraplan,
Ekranoplan.
Ekranoplan.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So it's a Russian wing, or wings in ground effect. America in 2002, Boeing had an entry. It's called the Pelican. You can also Google that. A huge aircraft that flies on ground effect over the oceans of the world. That is the most exciting, and that's not really super high tech. That's like not moon stuff or Mars stuff. That's very realistic. And we do have the technology. But what I was trying to get at is the future, the Aviation 2.0 projects will contribute immensely because it will eliminate, well, the personal flight, of course, the personal flight pack, the jetpack. The jetpack market is here. The only thing missing is the jetpack. We have that jetpack, and it's a hot rod. Okay, so that's going to be a lot of fun. Retrofitting tube and wing aircraft with our MIT turbofan, which is super efficient, no heat signature, lightweight, and we could probably price it cheaper because we're not using super alloys.
Let's talk about fuel for a second. What's the fuel savings using the Mighty engine on a plane versus the jet engine that they're using right now?
Well, the quick answer to that is we're not burning externally. We're burning internally, so we're very fuel efficient. And at the same time, we're not operating at extremely high temperature. We're basically injecting on the afterburners fuel, just like to get your afterburner fast speed for jet fighters. So you could very simply say factor of 4 or 5 is
and that's very conservative.
Very conservative, yes. Because by the time you factor an aircraft, every time you remove weight on the aircraft, there's a domino effect. A lighter aircraft will always be more efficient than a heavier aircraft. On the ship, that's very easy.
And when we
envision.
talk about 4 to 5 times less fuel, that's 4 to 5 times less weight of fuel on takeoff.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's a
or 4 to 5 times the range on the same amount.
It's
of
a
fuel.
domino effect. When you lose weight in an aircraft, it's a domino effect. You know, if it's fuel efficiency, you have to carry less weight on the fuel, which means again you have additional efficiency.
Yeah, you have additional range for the same fuel.
Exactly. On an aircraft displaces air, the same as ship displaces water. So if you have a heavy aircraft that displaces a lot of air, that's a lot of drag, that's a lot of power required, that's a lot of fuel you're going to burn, no matter how efficient your aircraft is. If for starters you have a lightweight aircraft that displaces air less than a compatible heavy one, you will require less power, means more fuel efficiency, you're carrying less fuel. It's a domino effect, guys. On an aircraft, when you lose weight, it's a domino effect. So it's really hard to calculate, but nevertheless, it's a good thing. You'll have more range for less fuel amount. Of course, the cost.
And would you be increasing the speed of the plane potential?
It's very easy. It's very easy to do the speed of the plane economically. Some of the airlines actually are purposely going slower to save fuel. The new AAA rating super ships that is now on the drawing board that we built that can take a load up to 17,000 shipping containers to be fuel efficient. They actually slowed it down to 18 miles per hour. So big ship displaces a lot of water in the ocean, a lot of drag, but the airplane does the same thing, you know. But flying in ground effect is very, very efficient.
We should mention too that the flying cargo ships would not be requiring the same amount of metal, steel, and reinforcement that you have to have when you're going through the water. And so it can be much lighter, and it's strong, but it doesn't have to have the strength you require when you're going through those huge waves.
Yeah, the pounding of the ocean. I own a boat that I call Mighty Angel, and it's one of a kind. It's a racing catamaran that just happens to be 58 feet long. It was built with jet engines, and it's made out of carbon fiber Kevlar so that it can take the pounding of offshore racing, so traveling at 140 miles per hour. And that has some semi-ground effect. At 50 miles per hour, there's a tunnel in the middle of it that picks up air and compresses it, and it allows the boat to come out of the water, and the surface drives. Only a portion of that is touching the water, so that's why it's able to attain that speed, you know. And there's a lot of pounding, of course. So to a certain extent, offshore racing boats do have some ground effect flight characteristics already. So the technology of WIGs, or wings in ground effect, which is what Russia is trying to do, which is payload of a ship and the speed of an airplane, is really very close with the rest of the world. Not there yet, but with my technology, our technology, Angel Labs, it's there. Because that's what my VTOL does. That's how it's able to fly without wings. And that's all I got to say about that.
Yeah. Do you have a price tag on that of a spin-off
On
the flying cargo ship?
the last time we checked, 60%, only at 60%, because it's unlike the aviation where every 3 or 4 years they have numbers. The maritime shipping does not, because it has not changed for so long. So it's really, really hard to get a hold on the numbers. But so far we've taken about 60% of it, and our numbers are looking to be between 12 and 13 trillion, with a T, trillion a year market. It's just enormous. And so whatever country comes up with this solution and operate these flying cargo ships with the payload of a ship and the speed of an airplane will be very rewarded. Actually, the world will benefit from it, because then commerce, 90% is commerce is done through shipping in the oceans of the world. And just imagine from 2 months to 2 days. I mean, that is incredible, folks. Incredible. You guys need to know about this. Do a little bit more research on the web. This is taking place quietly, only because we don't understand, but now we do. And there are articles on it. Again, like I said, it was done in Adelaide, University of Australia, study on wings and ground effect. They look like flying boats, actually. As a matter of fact, I believe, remember in the 40s, if you guys look at the history, people are probably familiar with the name Howard Hughes, the billionaire. He contributed a lot of inventions in aircraft. He used to own TWA, he used to own part of Las Vegas. He was the richest man on earth at one point. He died 97 pounds. He went crazy with drugs, I guess. But nevertheless, he built the Hercules, which was the largest cargo aircraft for the military in the war. But the war ended, he never got to use it. And the one and only flight he did was a surprise. He had 8 engines. And at that time, they were radial engines. At that time, even Howard Hughes knew that he didn't have enough power in those engines to take flight. And yet when he was doing taxiing in Long Beach, it flew. And that was in ground effect. I believe that when Russia saw that, they knew that ground effect is for real. And so, and that was a flying boat. Spruce Goose is a flying boat. It's still on display somewhere. It used to be in Long Beach.
One thing that we've not driven home in this particular segment is the idea that the oceans are flat. When you talk, they're level. And so when you're doing ground effect, you don't have to worry about going around mountains and hills.
Buildings,
and
yes.
you know, when you're 50, 100, 200 feet above the water, you still get ground effect, and you're well above the waves. And so you've basically got this endless runway in terms of the ground effect, and you're just flying right above that.
One more? Okay, thanks, man. Okay, go ahead. We're going on 5, right?
Yeah, no, 5.
Okay.
We're ready.
All right, just alert me. Okay, go ahead. What was the question?
I was just making the point that the oceans are level,
Correct.
And so you can go at those great speeds, and you have plenty of time to navigate around other craft on the ocean, or other flying cargo. With modern technology and satellite GPS guidance systems, it won't be a problem to be able to avoid other craft. You can fly over them, under them. You can change your altitude. There's a lot of ways you can avoid other traffic. And so you can go from point A to point B without going through shipping lanes, like planes do. You can go from city to city.
A lot of benefits, and it's truly exciting. This is a very big benefit to mankind.
And you can even fly overland to a certain extent if you have, smooth surfaces. You're not coming onto a cliff or, a mountain on the coast.
Like out on the desert.
Yeah. So you could go inland quite a ways as well with these craft.
Well, the biggest benefit, and probably the safest where it's going to be, is out in the oceans of the world. And since is the ocean what 2/3 or 3/4 of the Earth's surface? There's more oceans.
Two-thirds.
Two-thirds.
Yeah.
Okay. So the fact that they are there, it's just amazing that this is happening, and very quietly. Very quietly. Had I not got into the study on it, I've known about it for 4 years, but I have not really paid attention to it because I didn't realize the impact. But since I've read the studies, and then I realized that I have the design for it with my vertical takeoff and landing, I then realized the implications, the contributions. Wow. But you guys can look it up. Even man right now is not sure when exactly was the time. This is before the inventions of anything. When we didn't have cars, we didn't have nothing. Just basically a horse, I guess, to ride on. We were already on boats. Nobody really knows. I think there's a discovery on the first dugout boat that was discovered that I forgot to carbon date it. It was some long time ago, and there's proof that even before back then, we've been using the oceans and rivers with anything that floats. So it's been there forever. It's ancient, And so, but the fact is, as long as you're relying on buoyancy to float and going through the ocean, there's so much drag, you can't go very fast, period. There are special craft that can do, like race boats and so on and so forth. But the thing is, guys, the moment you fly over it, you have super efficiency and no dangers. Even at 140 miles per hour, if you take the wrong turn on my Mighty Angel racing catamaran, you disintegrate. Why would you want to do that? And not to mention how much fuel I'll be wasting at that speed. Flying over it, it's a known fact that flying over in ground effect on the oceans of the world is more fuel efficient than anything, because you have that cushion, that flat surface that you're compressing the air on. It's incredible. It's incredible, and I give benefits to Russia for keep working on it. Russia is onto something. And I'd be more than happy to supply them with the MYT engine. I think they want 20-inch MYT engines, 8 of them, when that time comes. But this is so exciting. Just the Aviation 2.0 projects alone. Well, just the flight pack, for crying out loud.
How many horsepower would a 20-inch Mighty engine have?
I have to look at my chart. Huh? Oh, North Reading. Okay, thanks, baby. 20-inch. No, I have to look at my charts.
Do you want to talk about your exercise machine that you came up with?
I have, just like everybody, I have little projects and big ones, I have little inventions, If I need something, I had a bad knee, and so did Michelle, and so we can't really use the ab roller because your knees need to be planted. Of course, you could put knee pads, but it's not good for your knees. And so I have an ab roller with a twist. I can't really be descriptive about it because I want to patent it. I want to license it to an exercise company. So there'll be some steady income coming in. So people with knee injuries can benefit from it. So an ab roller that benefits the abs and also the shoulders. It's almost like, you know, doing push-ups. So it protects your knees, and at the same time, so this is an ab roller for people with knee injuries.
And it would be, what would be the estimated cost once it's manufactured?
I have no idea, but it was just one of those things that I built for myself.
I would guess that it'd be in the $20 price range.
It's very simple.
Yeah,
it's very simple. I have a folding version that fits in your briefcase, so you can take it with you any place. And then I have a couple of versions with, you know, multiple wheels. If you don't want to balance, I have a single wheel. It's similar to roller abs, except different. Really with a twist, a big twist. I also have a new bicycle / motorcycle design. Oh, I forgot to show you the motorcycle.
Oh.
Well, I have a motorcycle design that has that's powered by MYT6 engine on the rear wheel, and where the engine used to be, like on the Harley or the Indian motorcycle, if you have the V-twin, where that is, that's where you sit. So you're sitting low to the ground. Safety. This is the safest bicycle, safest motorcycle you're gonna ever have. Again, I built that for me, but when my attorney saw it, he said, let's do it for motorcycle. You'll save a lot of lives because of the stability. And that will be powered by 200 horsepower of MYT6 engine, guys. And that engine is in the wheel, rear wheel. So where the engine used to be, the V engine, that's where you're sitting down with your, so you're sitting low to the ground. Very, very stable.
The next lane.
Again, one more left. Okay. Thanks, man. We're almost there. Wow. Okay. So a lot of different products. Some very, very important. Some just for fun. But I've decided that they're just sitting around anyway. I might as well get it protected and license it to whoever wants them, you know. But the big news is the spin-off companies, you know. So now we're not solo act, and we'll be selling finished products, you know.
Let's talk for a second about gridlock in these big cities and what the Jetpack can do. And the question of, well, if everyone's flying around, what would we have in terms of people running into each other?
We should really do a story on that so we can put up the numbers. Because I did some numbers and they're totally ridiculous. On average, a guy that goes to work and goes to work 9 to 5, put in an 8-hour work, spends between 3 to 4 hours commuting.
In traffic.
Now, wouldn't it be nice if you can just wake up at the last minute, get out of your door, fly in your jetpack, fly A to B, and get to work, and that time that you save, you can spend with your family, or at least be paid for it, you know? Why are we wasting? And not to mention the pollution when you're sitting, you know? It behooves me that people got used to sitting in traffic on a daily basis like that. Just no need. And that's, I think a lot of people, especially people that understands what a jetpack is, knows the big benefits to it, you know.
So in gridlock, it might take you 3 hours to get to work. With a jetpack, you're talking 5 to 10 minutes.
Pretty much it.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
And even though everyone's flying, because you have so much space, let's talk about that for a minute.
Well, the skies has no
there's no roads.
No left turn.
There's no congestion.
No uphill, no downhill.
No lights, no
you
stop
have 360
signs.
degrees. You have different levels of elevation. My God, when they say sky's the limit, there is no limit. So no. And cars will always be here. If you have enough flight packs being used, it's just gonna alleviate all of this congestion. So then driving will be fun again. Driving will never disappear. We love our cars. I love cars, you know. But when you're flying, that's a certain type of freedom that is really hard to explain, especially if you're not on an aircraft. If you are flying amongst the birds, it is, to me, that's the ultimate.
And wasn't that kind of your first dream as a child, is to why aren't we doing that?
Well, who hasn't read comic books? You know, Buck Rogers and the Rocketeer, the German scientist who comes up with this rocket, he puts it in his back and is able to fly. I mean, who doesn't want to do that, for crying out loud? And then on our presentation, by the way, there's a sequence time of events on how it started from the comic books, and then the first testing, which was ordered by the U.S. Army, the first rocket belt flight of 20 seconds, I believe. And then 60 years later, we're still 30 seconds. We only gained 10 seconds. I think there's a company, rocket belt company or jetpack company in Mexico that can do 33 seconds. And for that, you pay another extra $100,000, you know. So it's
not used practically. It's just used to show off.
It's
the
not.
Super Bowl
It's not.
go up for a few minutes. For a few seconds.
And it's pretty heavy. The lightest jetpack right now, based on the rocket belt, I believe the dry weight is 140 pounds.
You're going Terminal A.
Where am I going?
Terminal A.
Okay, so I'm there.
Yeah, I just didn't want you to know.
All right. Well, he has to check in. So, all right, 11. Well, we're almost at the terminal. Should we sign up then?
Well, one disadvantage of flight packs is we wouldn't have had this chat on the way to the airport.
Yes, right. You get there too quick. Yeah. So Terminal A, right?
Yeah.
Maybe
How loud is the jetpack going to be? Are you going to have ear protection?
You have to, because the engine and the fan is right next to you. So you have to, but it would be quieter than any out there, because I do have my quiet muffler that does not offer any back pressure on the exhaust. So I don't like loud things, so I'm doing the best I can to quiet it down. But the fan will still make quite a bit of sound. But the fact that I'm muffling my engine, that's a big factor. And there's no such thing as a muffler on an airplane.
Have you any idea, decibel-wise, what we're talking about?
Oh, that would be hard to calculate, because you're getting the noise from the fan and the engine.
On the U.S. Airlines.
And more than likely, you'll get more sound out of the fan because I have a muffler in my engine. Where are we going? U.S. Airways.
How fast is the wind going through the jetpack, the turbofan, on the jetpack? 100 miles an hour?
A little bit more than that, because you're spinning much faster. You have higher velocities. So that's why I said it will generate a little bit more hissing sound, but not a roaring sound. So that's the benefit, you know. Mm-hmm. Because the roaring sound from a jet comes from fuel being burned externally. Well, compared to an internal combustion engine, which is far, far more efficient. Had a lot of cars today. But we'll keep updating everybody as we get some clearance. Like I said, we'll be selling the SAP, you know, the stationary activated parachute for safety.
We can get up here. We can
get up?
Yeah.
U.S. Airways.
We're picking up.
We can go here.
Dropping off.
U.S. Airways. Yeah, you can either go and... Well,
I can go behind this. But guys, I mean, that's 5 foot cube. I mean, you need a parking space for it. You can't carry it, you know, 700 pounds. Kudos to them, because they're flying for more than 30 minutes, so that's fine. But the real jetpack, I call it the flight pack, Angel Flight Pack, is coming your way. You know, read up on article on PSN that Sterling's gonna write up. Sterling was wearing it. He knows how simple it is, and this is a hot rod. It's not just gonna fly. And you can fly for as long as you want because you can carry additional pounds. You can carry another passenger with you if you have to. This is a hot rod of a jetpack. Remember what Carroll Shelby did to the British car and turned that into a Cobra, put a big V8 engine on that? This is the same thing. My jetpack is powered by the 6-inch engine, MYT6, starting at 200 horsepower and all the way up to 800 horsepower for the military use. This is a hot rod of a jetpack. You can do work with it, you can do contests, race on the weekends, have fun with it. This is the new way of really free as a bird flying. And in its reality, we're building it with Angel Flight Inc., you know, our first spin-off company. So follow through the stories. We are living in very exciting times, and the Aviation 2.0 projects is going to change the world. And I know you guys heard this plenty of times, but when I talk about it, I can back it up. And then, of course, watch out for the VTOL aircraft. No more runways. You can take off in front of your door or in front of your garage. Take off vertical, go any place on Earth, land any place flat on Earth. And then if that's not exciting enough, ultimately the flying it's the flying cargo ship, basically the payload of a ship with the speed of an airplane flying across on ground effect over the oceans of the world. That is exciting, exciting, exciting. Right now, the only country in the world doing that is Russia. It's called Ekranoplan. You can Google it. Ekranoplan.
Ekranoplan.
Ekranoplan, and it's by Russia, and they look like flying boats. And their study on it from Australia University, Adelaide, a paper on it in 50 years and what they have to overcome, what they still have to do, and solve all the solution with my aircraft design. You know, so very exciting times. Follow it through, and like I said, let's hope the Middle East money comes in sooner, so we get our capital. But in the meantime, I would be very happy if my capital money comes from the United States. But right now, as long as it's a friendly country, I'm okay with it because we need to get going.
One thing I'd like to add here is yesterday when we were talking, he showed me his the propeller, or I guess a fan. I'm not sure the proper terminology for the rotating part that gives you the lift, because it has.
So when we were doing the development, you can hear Sammy. That's our bull. You can hear the chickens because we had all kinds of animals at the ranch. And so we had a good time in that trailer.
Well, every time
testing.
The yellow car went
that's
down
my
the road,
favorite. Yeah, that's right.
Our bull Sammy would run down the fence and chase the car and just make tons of noises.
He didn't like the hissing sound of the air car. Yeah, he didn't. But you know what? He kind of quieted down when we were no longer using the,
Right.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It quieted down a little bit, and he wasn't as disturbed anymore. But yeah, it was very exciting times, and that's about ready to happen again because the 14-inch engine is back. And also the 6-inch, so we'll be running those in the dyno. I shouldn't talk bad against that because I like electric cars too, but until you have some kind of a breakthrough event for the battery, where the battery is not dirty, where the battery lasts for a long time, and it charges like at least an hour, you know. I mean, you could fill up a gas station, you go stop at a gas station. What's the normal time? Whatever, 5 minutes, between 2 to 5 minutes. If it's an air car, you plug in, you turn the valve on, you're done in less than 10 seconds. So that's even faster for air cars. When you have to recharge your battery, my goodness, you can do a fast charge for 4 hours, but your battery life is not going to last very long. Recommended charge time really is 8 hours. So like I said, what happens if you fall asleep and you forgot to charge in? You wake up in the morning, you don't have a car to drive. But not only that, Americans love their automobiles. No ifs, no buts about it. When they step on it, they want smoking tires. Well, it's true. The electric motor has a lot of torque, and when you step on the pedal of a modern electric car, you might be able to do a burnout. But let me caution you, if you do a burnout, you're not leaving the track because you just drain your batteries. I mean, there was a story in Top Gear where they had a Cobra that used to have a 427 V8 engine. They made it electric, and it was doing burnouts and was doing donuts. It was pretty impressive. And then when it came time to go home, it couldn't go home. All the charge was exhausted. Whereas all the competition, Ferrari and good cars that it kind of like competed with, went home. That's my point. Why is nobody pointing that out? Okay, Americans love their cars. Americans love to have power, although they don't use it every day, but once in a while, that when they press on that pedal, they want it, and then they still want to be able to drive home afterwards. And I like electric cars, but it's just not there yet. Hybrids I'm okay with, but you know, really what the world needs is, of course I'm going to say mighty engine because I'm the inventor, but it's reality. Because when I put the mighty engine in an automobile, you lose so much pounds out of the car. That is a big benefit right away. And I've said that already in all my articles, but now I'm proving it. With basically the world, actually 3 or 4 years ago, the jetpack market has arrived. Everybody knows that. All you have to do is Google jetpacks. There's versions out in the water where you're tied up to a 30-foot long hose. It's almost like you're taking off on a fire hose, you know, but you're flying, you know. Actually, I kind of like it because then you can go over there and have some water sports fun and feel the sensation of how it is to be flying. There's about 3 companies now. You guys can Google this. JetLev is one of them, I think, one of the first ones. So it's a jetpack that basically, you're at the end of the hose, you know. You're about 30 feet long hose where the boat is floating in the water, where it has the engine, the pump, sucking the water. You're limited, of course, because you're hooked up to that, but you have the sensation of flying. So I think that's a good thing. So the market on the jetpack has arrived. It's strange. The only thing really missing is the real jetpack. Now, the only thing that can claim more than 30 seconds or 33 seconds of flight, and those are the rocket bells. Those are the real jetpacks. The only that complain that they can do more flight range is the company called Martin Aircraft.